Hi, Neelima. Good morning to you. It's wonderful to connect with you and discuss about your journey, wonderful journey. Could you just brief about us about yourself and your motivation to embark on this sector?
Absolutely. I call myself a digital transformer, and what it means is trying to bring small, large, medium segment companies to their digital journey and understand how they can be that leader compared to their peers in the market in terms of being ahead of digital technology. Right. And to be very frank, it's really interesting that very early in my life, I wanted to dedicate my life towards social service. I almost made up my mind that I want to be a doctor.
Mhm.
But I, at the same time, had very heavy interest in arts, music, singing, dancing, and painting. So eventually, things did not turn out the way I wanted it to be. So I ended up being an engineer, an electrical engineer, but that wish to, somehow being able to connect the dots between, being science, arts, psychology, and history, that never got out of it. And over a period of time, while I started doing my first job, there I realized that the actual touch point between art, science, psychology, and history is one
Mhm.
common thing, and that's data. And that's how I embarked in the journey of data. And eventually, if you look at the current world, we are living this Gen AI, and my belief system is becoming stronger and stronger that artificial intelligence and data are the two areas which are bringing art, science, psychology, and history together.
Mhm.
We are in as a humanity in a transformational journey, and I'm so happy that so early on decisions like 25 years back decision has led to where I am super excited about what's happening in the world, and it's perfectly aligning of my interest of connecting all these cross-functional areas.
Okay, wonderful. How was your journey from India to Europe? How was that happened actually?
So I studied and I actually did my engineering graduation in India. And
Mhm.
after that, for a very short time, I was in India. And then it was never after that. I went into my first on-site opportunity in Philippines, actually solving some major challenges one of our customer had. That time it was a Bangalore based insurance product company that I was working
Mhm.
with. And
Mhm.
I that's where I realized the sense of achievement when you actually solve a customer's problem. That
Right.
gave me much more pleasure than just programming. I loved programming. I loved being a very structured person, but the sense of solving a business problem for a customer, that came from my first opportunity, on-site opportunity. And then I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to get as close as to our customers, really sit
Mhm.
with them, solve their problems. And that's when I never looked back. So I lived and worked in 50 different countries and always been traveling and trying to understand customer problems and solve. But if I go a little bit into my journey as a, like, how did it happen in 25 years, I
Mhm.
would say that a very three pivotal points. And if you let me, I am trying to touch upon what exactly shaped my career in
Yeah,
25
sure.
years.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So three things, I think. So because I'm talking about this Philippines experience, let's talk about that, right? I started my career just to be financially independent. I'm born and brought up in a family where it's all economists and engineers. So very early on, too much of academic pressure, and I was considered to be the average student in the family, and
Mhm.
not really smartest one. So what I always realized that, the way I've been portrayed as a child, I need
Mhm.
to be independent. Otherwise, that particular label that you have got, that you're average and you would be dependent on people all your life, that would never go
Mhm.
away. So I just wanted to be financial dependent, and that's why I just took engineering and then whatever is the first job that was offered to me, I took that job, right, and started working. But at the interesting part is something happened that when I moved to I did my first job in my native place first in Bhubaneswar, Orissa, then moved on to Indore for some time, and then I got into this Bangalore insurance software company, which I was talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing which I did not know I have is a tremendous amount of courage. So this customer was suffering in Philippines because we have given them a new version of our product, and
Mm-hmm.
they ended up understanding all our product features wrongly, and they were not
Oh.
able to they were very confused. Like, okay, is this working? The previous version worked differently, this is different, what's going on with the product, right? And the reason why that confusion happened is geopolitically that time, this is something around 2000,
Mm-hmm.
2001. Philippines was very unstable. So basically, what happened is literally visa requests got rejected multiple times. People were not allowed to travel to Philippines.
Oh.
There are terrorism and a lot of other stuff that's going on there. So what happened is nobody from the company from our side was ready to travel, and nobody wanted to. And then our one of our head of department came and said, "Guys, do you young guys, any of you have the courage to travel to Philippines? This customer is struggling." And I was 24 years old that time, so I was like, yes, I want to. And everybody started staring at me, saying that, are you crazy? But that's exactly how it is. And then my boss told me, don't worry, you have done that stupid mistake, but you will not get a visa, so you will be safe. And eventually what happened, within a week I got a visa to travel
Wow.
to. And I'm not prepared. I had no idea what's going on. And then my boss, who told me that you don't get a visa, he realized that now it's reality. So he sat during weekends and
Mm.
started explaining me that customer's problem, because 3 years before that situation, he was the one who implemented the product in the customer place. And
Mm-hmm.
then he ended up also spending weekends explaining me a data warehouse solution, which is typically the data solutions those days. uh,
Mm.
he went into nitty-gritty of explaining that solution to me so that I can ready for the customer. And I went
Right.
to Philippines. I was treated like a queen. The customer waited in the airport with my name on it. They were so needing a help, right? And I stayed there only like 1.5 weeks, but I managed to solve around 20 problems. I actually found out there are remaining 60 or something, which they thought is a bug. Is not a bug, it's more of a feature. They didn't know how to use it,
Use it.
etc. And eventually came back with a brilliant appreciation letter from the customer, right? And that's
Wow.
my turning point of knowing the pleasure of solving a problem, and also the pleasure of how data solutions can help our customers a lot. So that's where my data journey started. And this person,
Okay.
my boss that time, Yogesh, he is my first mentor to embark me in this data journey, right? Then somewhere around, so this is the step one. I'm explaining step by step how
Yeah.
my journey
Yes.
has been. Step two is 2003. When I actually was in Emphasis BFL that time, which is a large company, US based, but they had very large setup in India. The
Mm-hmm.
CIO that time, Aditya Menon, he is actually still in Citigroup at, I think, at this point of time, actually trying to build a future-proof BPO solution for his company. And
Mm.
and that means a lot of design thinking, a lot of architecting, software architecting, which is new to me. So he used to travel between offices and meet people and discuss how the BPO solution should look like. And he would give me a lift in his car, because I otherwise had to take buses. And also he was like, just get in my car. And during our travel between offices, he will start he told that, why don't you really learn this architecture technology methodology called UML and things like that. And I started learning, and he would review my UML diagrams while we are traveling. And in a
Okay.
way, he kind of pushed me to a corner to be the enterprise architect I am. So that's my second learning, that I'm an enterprise architect. I'm a data person, but I'm also an enterprise architect. That is where I started. The third and another interesting thing that has shaped me is around 2008. And I started, and this is a company which doesn't exist, but I'm sure many of you would have heard the name of this company. It's Satyam Computers, which is Tech Mahindra right now. And I was in Shanghai, heading the East China practice that time. And my boss was also there. He was global head. He was head of China overall. And
Mhm.
he realized that somehow he saw an entrepreneurial spark in me. And I joined as a project lead, then become a project manager, then a program manager. And then he said, hey, you know what? I'm going to start creating my own team of practice heads. And I'm considering you. So learn this, read this. He was almost like my encyclopedia. And he
Wow.
taught me the business acumen side of it. So the entrepreneur I am today is because of my boss in China. His name is Sushil, and he has made this entrepreneur, in me come out. And I absolutely had no idea that I'm entrepreneur. So I think this
Wow.
three steps made my journey. So data and AI, then knowing that I'm an enterprise architect, and knowing that I can actually run my own company and be an entrepreneur. That came from my last boss, as I said, 2008, Sushil. So yeah, many people have shaped my life.
Wonderful. So there were three steps you have explained. So I guess those three mentors played an important role in your professional journey. So going ahead, so how do you personally balance architectural innovation with practical execution when driving scalable digital strategies? Any example that the budding aspirants can grab from you?
Absolutely. I think what is uh, most important, I believe, is you use couple of words. Let me go back to those words. You're talking about balancing the architectural innovation and then practical
Right.
execution, and then driving scalable digital strategy. Those are very, very interesting words, because for me, the most important part is think about a building. And if you are building, trying to make a beautiful building, what do you look in that building? You want to have this building probably very beautiful, so that it's kind of recognizable. People identify, oh, that's a nice building. That's a very beautiful architecture, right? That's how people say.
Right.
So one, you want that. One, you need the second one you need is stability. Like it has to be there for years. Like all our historical building, like Taj Mahal, or all our different forts that we have in India, they're not only beauty, but they are also about stability, like years and years and hundreds of different seasons and weather conditions they can handle and still stand strong. Architecture is all about that. So whether it is software architecture or it is actually building architecture, it's exactly the same principles. You need to make something beautiful and unique. At the same time, you need to make it strong enough that it can sustain itself over a period of time. In the software architecture world, technology changes like weather in the building architecture, but you still
Right.
need to have a good architecture that actually makes you survive for years. And I think that's the most important learning in my life, that architecture is like structure, direction, and long term coherence. And architecture really enables you to last longer, stand out uniquely, and build a lasting legacy. And that's why the value begins from understanding what exactly is your customer needing. For example, I'm recently being very, very fortunate to work with 100, years old companies like Volvo cars. They've been in the industry for 100 years.
Yes, right.
I have worked with Ericsson, who's 75 years. Large companies who have been technology leaders when technology even was not so acceptable term in the world, right? And
Right.
then you see their system, and they were like, "Wow, they have built this, and that lasted for this many years because they knew from the beginning that this software need to stay there for next 70 years or 60 years. I think that's very important, and that is what I will say most of the people must focus on. The current generation, as you said, what is my message, focuses on technology a lot. I do agree that technology is powerful, but technology will keep coming and going. What will stay is how strong is architecture that would make your solutions live longer, being more robust, being more valuable in the market. So focusing on architecture is absolutely critical, while technology is important, but that's would be my and true digital strategist. If you want to scale, if you want to stay longer, build a very strong architectural foundation, keep on changing your technology because technology is getting better all the time, right? And then make your
Right.
digital environment for your business. Build it for your business. Don't bother about technology, don't bother about that, but build what your customers want. I think these are the three things that you need to teach for the next generation.
Right. Wonderful. So after 2008, when you actually got to know about your entrepreneurial skills, so when was the time when you actually found a company or co-founded a company? In which year and how did that happen?
That's a really interesting question. I did not manage to get out of the corporate stuff for a very long time, and that's not
Mhm.
because I didn't want to. Yeah, I remember in 2012 when people were making fun, the world is about to end because
Right,
2012
yeah.
is the end year.
Yes.
I was like, if this 2012 the world doesn't end, I will start my entrepreneurial journey. That's what I said, but I could never do that. It was very funny because what I was doing, I was enjoying it, and I kind of felt that growing so fast in the corporate world and getting promotions every year, getting awards, rewards, made me feel that I'm doing great, right? Till a point when you realize that maybe you are doing great, but this is not the best version of yourself. So
Yourself. Yeah.
somewhere around 2020 is when I was already working for this large management consulting firm in Sweden. Before that,
Mhm.
I was in Cognizant. Cognizant actually moved me from Norway to Sweden as because I was heading their data and AI practice, and they wanted me to be in the headquarters. And Sweden
Mhm.
used to be their headquarters, so I moved here. And Centigo then actually gave me a lot better opportunity to get closer to customer problem. Being a management consulting company, they were techie, but they were not us techie. They always focused on business problems. So after working with them for 2.5 years, I realized that, oh, this is a thing that I enjoy more. Though I have all my life worked with IT companies like Accenture, Wipro, HCL multiple times, and similar companies. I also have worked with product companies like Microsoft and Pitney Bowes. I was like, but I enjoy being closer to the customer so much. Why don't I start my own company? Now, when in 2020 I decided to do that, there was also another reason I was completely torn from being a corporate person anymore. Because what
Mhm.
happened is in 2020 I was meeting this smaller real estate company locally in Sweden, trying to help them in their digital journey through Centigo. And this
Mhm.
lady, she changed my mind. She told me, "Hey, Nilima, you know what? I have my a product that we use for keeping all our real estate and property data. We are a small company. We don't have a big budget. And so a few days back, our current vendor just simply gave away the system to us, saying that, hey, take it. We don't want to work with you anymore. You are not paying us the money that we want. So you start supporting your system." And this lady was so sad, saying that I don't have programmers in my company. I don't have software engineers. I don't know how to read the code and understand it. Now I'm given a system which I don't understand, but I need to run my business on it. And I don't have a lot of money to do digital transformation and stuff. That kind of shook me. I was like, okay, yeah, big companies have a lot of money. So that's why they can do digital transformation. But what about the small companies who want to be digital, but unfortunately the cost is so high that they're not. So I started my company, Tech, which basically means digital as a service technology
Mm-hmm.
company, is for small and medium customers like her, whom I can help. Making money was no more a goal. The goal was to actually help small and medium customers like her who wants to embark on a journey. It's very funny though. I was like, okay, look, I started helping small startups almost free of cost, like a pilot first few months. But the
Right.
third month onwards, I had largest logistic player in Nordics as my customer. Then I had, as I mentioned, very large companies, Tele2, which is the second largest telecom company, large car company. And we have a lot more names, which are bigger companies that came into picture for us, which is really
Mm-hmm.
funny because the original agenda was to help small. But the good thing is that by having larger customer, we could meet our targets of growth much faster. And
Right.
what it led then is I started doing more community work and helping startups in a different way, more giving away things to them rather than making them my customers and supporting them to build their community, etc. So ultimately, the goal was achieved.
Okay. Wonderful. It's a very inspiring story. Our readers and viewers would love to watch. As I can understand, you had a very uh, inspiring and a great journey. So while this journey was going on, so you might have taken tough calls. So if you can share an instance where you had to take a very tough call.
I think there are many
Mhm.
tough calls that has been taken, but do you want specifically in terms of can you elaborate a little more on the question, like tough call in terms of business decisions, or is digital transformation leader, or decision on ethical AI, which area? Because both of them I had taken some tough calls. What would be your
So
questions?
it should be related to your business first.
Okay, okay. Then
Yeah.
I would give you some very interesting examples on business. I think three examples I can quote, and
Hmm.
this is going to be interesting because all of them are very separate stories by
Uh-huh.
itself for me. I was working in China, as you know now, in Shanghai. At that
Shanghai.
time, I had a Chinese customer. They were the largest casual wear retailer that time in
Okay.
China.
Mhm.
Um, they had basically hired a management consulting company to embark their digital and data journey. And the management
Mhm.
consulting company then came to Tech Mahindra saying that, hey, you can be our IT consulting partner. So, very highly visible project. The country manager was on top of it. Everybody was on top of it. Everybody wanted this project to be super successful. And then the project was also equally difficult because the solution they wanted to build is an Oracle product that was built very recently that time, and I'm talking about 2007 and 8. Nobody
Mhm.
has ever implemented that product before. That means Oracle basically purchased another company, small company, integrated
Mhm.
them back into their ecosystem, and nobody in the world actually knew how to implement that product.
Right.
So we were the first team to learn the product while the product is fully integrating with Oracle. At the
Mhm.
same time, implement it. So, literally, every project manager and program manager my boss approached to take over the program management role, nobody agreed. They knew this is going to be a big failure project, so they didn't want to do it. So, then the last thing is everybody knew I have this crazy, courageous behavior. So, I was the one, even though I was already leading a practice that time, I was said, can you take this as a program management role? I said, yes, I
Mhm.
can. Um, Now, the interesting part is that The customer, as we expected, had very difficult dialogues with the American management consulting company because everybody's learning, everybody's figuring it out. But culture, here I realize how culture can play a bigger role. The customer is Chinese, there
Mm-hmm.
are American management consulting, and I'm an Indian person who's sitting between the American and my fully Chinese origin team members. So everybody, the data engineer is Chinese, my data architect is Chinese, my data technology project manager is Chinese. So all my full team is Chinese. So there is only in
Right.
between American and Indian face. So
Right.
now here when things started getting culturally confusing, the American company was very to the point, blunt. Customer did not like it because some of the dialogues as per the Chinese culture did not go well. And then as a typical behavior any smart customer, and I appreciate this, would take is like, okay, my delivery team is Chinese, I'm Chinese, why do I need this Americans and Indian in between? So the customer decided to directly bypass us and hire my team members straight with giving them brilliant offers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Straight saying that come to my company, join me. And what
Right.
would happen is I will give you good salary. And anyway, you have built half of the solution. You can build the rest of the solution and leave this, your current company and this American management. So that's what they did. It was so tough for me culturally, but I had by that time gone very deep into how Chinese people think, what are the stuff they value, how they build loyalty. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually spent hours with my team. I said, I am not going to be able to give you a salary hike, or what they're offering, I would never be able to match up to it. But on a value and ethical standpoint, I will not leave this American company at this point of time because they are the one who bought this opportunity to us. So after
Right.
a lot of back and forth dialogue, out of five of my core members who were offered, only one took the offer, and the four remaining people stayed.
Wow.
And this is the toughest journey of my life because culturally I'm not even if I try to understand them, I'm not Chinese, right? It's really difficult to
Yes, it's very difficult.
blend in. And after that we actually ended up still with the four people. We ended up delivering the project fully, got the customer stopped paying for some times when this fight was going on, but after we finished, customer paid full. And that is the year
Wow.
I got the Best Project Manager award for Asia. And I didn't expect that award. I was just doing my job, but I realized how culture plays a role, and very tough decisions as a leader you need to take sometimes, to ensure that delivery happens. That's the first example. I think that was one of the toughest project. The second
Mm-hmm.
was I'm in Netherlands this time. This is around 2010 to 2012.
Okay.
And I'm right now supporting through HCL, a very large Dutch insurance company. They are the largest that time in Netherlands. And
Mm-hmm.
the interesting part was there were two different vendors who were supporting the customer, and we constantly saw that the customer cost base is too high. We were constantly giving feedback that they can do some optimization to reduce their cost of IT. Now, it is really interesting because you are a vendor and there are only two vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you go to customer and give feedback that your cost is high, the customer typically assumes that, oh yeah, so you're saying that so that you can, probably instead of two vendors, make us one single vendor. And then what you will do is take the business of the other vendor. That was a typical assumption, right? And then they assumed that we will not be really thinking in favor of them. We are more thinking about how we can make more business. And that's when my boss that time, and brilliant guy, he positioned me saying that, Nilima, you are a transformation. I was hired as a transformation leader. You are not biased. You do what is best for the customer. You act
Mm-hmm.
as if even though your salary is being paid by us that time in HCL, behave like you are an independent consultant and your advisory services are only for the good of the customer. So I went in, built trust with the CIO's organization, and in the CIO office, I built so much of trust that they started believing that I am in completely in their favor. So they opened up all their financial numbers to me and showed that these are the things we are spending on. We started looking at
Mhm.
inefficiencies on their cost structure, fix each by one, nothing to do with the other vendor. Inefficiency on how they buy softwares, inefficiency on how they have licenses that they should have stopped having long back. So we actually kept on really help the customer, not only think that we are a vendor who wants to grow in that customer base.
Grow.
Two
Right.
years into this journey, we eventually become a single vendor to that customer because of the value add we brought to the table. But this
Mm-hmm.
journey also was very tough. Building trust was tough. Even some of the Dutch colleagues, their customer side colleagues, came to me saying that, what does a transformation leader even means? Why are you here? Why are you wasting my time? This is how I started. And I ended up being the person who was one of the most valued. And that year in HCL, I also got the Transformation Leader of the Year award for the whole Europe. So
Oh,
this is my second biggest, toughest journey, but very great outcome. And recently, I'll say I have worked with this very large Nordics uh, company who does logistics, that basically they are the one who does letters, parcels and everything.
mm-hmm.
They had they were really nice and good, and I was helping them in their data journey. But suddenly we realized that again, their cost of data is too high. The value it is bringing, they want to be a data driven company, but the value it is bringing versus the cost is too high. Something has to be done. That time the head of data of this company, she called me and said, Nilima, can you do one thing? Can you start really financially telling me how much is my data costing? So we came up with the idea of establishing the ROI of data. And we churned a lot of numbers, look at financial figures, and trying to understand what is the ROI that thing is bringing. Interestingly, that though we quick win found a lot of issues that we can fix, and we immediately fix. We also build a literacy in the organization. Basically, the IT team or the technology team started understanding the cost of everything that they're building. So the team also started becoming very conscious, cost conscious, and they were trying to build optimized solution. What actually truly happened, which is a funny thing, right? I worked with the finance team quite a bit. And then I
Mm-hmm.
actually told the finance team that the fundamental problem why your cost is high is how are you doing your cost calculation as a finance team? I'm an IT professional, I'm a technology expert, I'm a architecture expert. Going into details of how finance is operating and giving them feedback that the way
Feedbacks.
they actually calculate their cost is wrong is probably one of the toughest thing to do, because you are not expert, you are not a subject matter expert on that area, but you
Right.
figured it
Yes.
out with them. And they actually agreed to that. And the financial team then went round and round again, requesting the leadership to change the way they do their financial calculations so that they can be better at it. So I think that's a tough one, because this is not a subject matter expert, but at the same time, you could add so much of value. So I think these are my biggest three uh, journeys that I would say very tough, but very beautiful outcome at the end of the day.
Wonderful. So I could understand that the zeal to learn new things made you so much successful in your professional journey. So
Mm.
adding to this, I would like to ask, in your experience, what separates a good transformation leader from a great one, and when bridging tech expertise with business outcomes?
I think this is a so beautiful question, and recent past, I have started writing a lot of blogs around it. And the blog topic name, you will actually love it. It says transformation of a digital transformer. That means
Wow.
you need to change yourself before you want to
Right.
change the world, right?
Yes. Correct.
And I think that's a learning. And last couple of years, when I'm been in this industry already for 2 decades, have spent a lot of time reflecting on my journey,
Mhm.
all the projects, the failures, the successes. And that's when I started writing this blog series, right? And I would say that the most important thing I see as a good transformation leader versus a great is good transformation leaders understand technology, they deliver projects very well, but a great transformation leader understands the environment in which the business operates and they adapt to it quickly. So my
Right.
belief is a good transformation leader or a great transformation leader must understand the business model, the industry dynamics, the customer behavior, the financial drivers of their company, and they need to look at their company objectively without being trapped in the legacy thinking. And I will explain you what you mean. I was meeting this person recently in a very large chief data officer event, and this is
Mm-hmm.
a company who make air purifiers. Okay, and this person who is their chief digital officer is actually a person who comes from the mechanical engineering background of making air purifier.
Right.
And I asked him this question the moment he said I come from the same industry, like I used to make air purifiers myself before or design it. My question
Mm-hmm.
is, what's your view then on digital transformation? Um, does it look like you are subject matter expert? So you already deep in your mind already know the problems that happens. So maybe you think too inside out and you don't look at problems objectively. What's your view on this role? And he actually got gone into a reflection. He couldn't answer my question for some time. Right. But that's exactly what I feel that uh, if you are curious or a lifetime learner, I would always say that the people who want to hire great digital transformation, they should hire it from a different industry. Because if you hire somebody within the industry, what happens is the person already knows the problems very well. So he doesn't look
Right.
at the problem objectively.
Right.
Well,
Yes. Correct.
so if you bring out a person from a different industry, he who is a learner who really want to understand the business, who understands the dynamics, who understand what geopolitical challenges that you have as a company, but at the same time says, hey, but I think the same problem may not be in similar size and shape but existed in other industry I worked, and they solve it in this way which you are not
Right.
thinking because it's not related to your industry. So bringing
Right.
those out of box thinking happens when you actually work cross industry. So my suggestion is, find out those great leaders from different industries and make them your digital leader, because they will solve problems much faster than promoting a person who already knows the problem statement too much.
Correct. Yes. Right. So, as I understand, I must say that you are one of the great ones. So, moving ahead, so how has working across global enterprises influenced your approach to fostering innovation that's both bold and responsible?
I think this is funny. I have a view about being bold and but bold and responsible. But to be very frank, I would say that I have worked roughly around in 50 different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and I have seen firsthand issues with trust, innovation, and problem solving. What actually is the issue is every country, every culture, trust, innovation, and problem solving are very differently perceived. So, what feels bold in one country might feel reckless in another.
Another, right,
What
yes.
feels very cautious in one culture may be a very strategic move in another culture. So, it is so contextual that when you say you're bold and responsible, you need to really look into the deeper context of it. So, what I think is when I do bold and responsible thinking around a customer, I add a cultural dimension to it. And then I start looking at, okay, what are the people are we dealing with? What are their cultural drivers? How do they make decisions? How should I negotiate if I want to make changes? Right. And because
Right.
transformation is all about changing. And when you're going as a change leader, your biggest need of the job is negotiation. You should be able to convince people to support you with the changes. And that's why culture plays such a big role. So I always add the culture dimension. And then depending on how trust to be built in different geographies, I use those methods. Like some cultures, like Dutch culture, you can be upfront saying that, hey, you're doing this wrong, this should be done this way, and they will listen to you. And if you're saying the right things, they will agree to it, right? But then you go
Right.
into cultures like China and Japan, and I was having this brilliant dialogue with one of my colleagues. There you can't go if you don't know the customer personally. You can't go and say, hey, you are doing things wrong. But
Right.
you would have a person in the customer's organization who is very valued and trusted. And that person, if you can convince that person that, hey, you know what you're doing is probably right, but if you look long term, this may not work for you. If you can convince that one person who is highly respected, that person does the job of being your ambassador. And then he
Correct.
goes and convinces his colleagues and friends that, okay, I think what they're saying is something we should listen to. And then you suddenly get a seat on the table, a voice that people listen to. So every cultural dimension you need to weigh in when you are doing this kind of bold and responsible decisions. I think it varies from culture to culture, and the approach is different.
Right. Yes. Wonderful. So you earlier you talked about your mentors, the three incidents which changed your professional journey. So in your professional journey, what role has mentorship played in your journey, and who has been the most influential figure in shaping your leadership style?
Many of them, honestly. Already three of them, their names I've already mentioned in the beginning of
Right.
our discussion,
Yes.
right? But mentorship played a very profound role for me because the most interesting thing is most of the things that I have learned in my life is while doing my job. I did not have
Mhm.
time or energy to go for further studies. I was always traveling. I was busy. I was enjoying what I was doing. So it never happened that I can take a break and pursue further studies. Right. So then you still have to have your learning curve, and that happens through learning on the job. And if you don't have good mentors, you don't learn. But
Right.
again, when I started reflecting recently about my 2 decades plus journey, like 25 years journey, I realized that the best mentors are the people who are not afraid of building people who can become better than themselves. That means you are not afraid of building a smarter team than you, then only you
Right.
can be a mentor. And that is
Yes.
something which is very rare find. And I would personally, as you asked, who has been my recently, I'm already in my late 40s, and recently I found this person. His name is Niels. If he would listen to this podcast, I want to personally thank. He's almost about to retire in his 60s.
Hmm. Hmm.
His biggest strength in his personality is that he is never afraid of making somebody smarter than him, better than him, or having more knowledge than him. So
Okay.
he is very fairly contained and happy with what he does. And then he starts always helping people who wants to be a better version of themselves. And at this late stage of my career, finding a mentor like him is absolutely stunning because you feel, wow, learning never stops and finding mentor never stops as long as the people believe in you and they want to kind of enable. So from my standpoint, meeting people like Niels, I realized myself that I need to do the same. So what I have done is spend last 5 years most of my time to
Hmm.
mentor people whoever has approached me. Hey, I actually part of Women in AI Sweden, where I started mentoring females from different countries immigrating to Sweden, and they're trying to build their career, each of them different
Hmm.
aspirations, so mentor them. Then I also mentor a lot in India, particularly girls, very young girls, 8 to 9
Uh-huh.
standard. And I actually give them training on AI and mentor them. And also, they have so much of entrepreneurial thinking, so young, but still very entrepreneurial, and also kind of enable them in their entrepreneurial journey. The most important thing I would like to quote, and which is very personal about mentorship, is I
Mm-hmm.
recently was spending some time with this guy called Calais. He's a very good friend, and he used to work with one of the female whom I mentored in Women in AI in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was saying that how are you able to run a company, do business at the same time, mentor people, build communities? Are you like having more than 24 hours? So he asked me that question, and we got into a very reflective discussion that time. And then I told him this statement saying that one thing probably why I'm able to do all this is I do not have children, and I that basically probably gives up, because when you have children all your priorities becomes your children, right? And because I don't
Right.
have child, probably that I didn't have to spend that time on a contrary, that time I'm able to give it to the society. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
if I had my own child, I would have poured my energy and everything into them, right? And he
Right.
kind of saw a sadness, at the same time a sense of achievement in my eyes that time. So he actually looked at me saying that, who told you that you don't have child? The every other person you have mentored in your life,
Mentored.
they are
Yes.
all over the world, and they are your children. And that was such a sense of achievement. That very moment I was on my tears, and I was like, that's true, that's so true. And yeah, I think that's how mentorship is very personal, and actually making people become a better version of themselves. And that's so important.
Right. Yes. You mentioned about Neil being not afraid of uh, teaching or mentoring people, helping leaders to grow more and to learn more than him. So I would like to share this with you that even I have around 10 years of experience. So I have seen people. So when they get a leadership or managerial position, then they get
Mm,
afraid of uh, teaching the other people that they might lose their job. But
mm,
I must say that it should not be there, because the moment you teach them whatever you have, the knowledge you have, the moment you understand that this is what I can give them the maximum, then the next moment you start learning next thing. You should. This is your journey. This is this thing you should understand that
mm.
giving them the knowledge will not stop learning you from new things,
Yeah,
right? So yes,
exactly.
in corporate world, I truly understand that. I would love to get in touch with Neil, because I have a lot of things to I'm sure I can discuss with him as well. And
Mhm.
yes, this perspective of teaching and giving them the knowledge that you should be proud of, that they are getting more knowledge, or they are more knowledgeable than you, so that feels great uh, at your end as well. But it is not the same thing with the many of the leaders, but
Absolutely.
it should be in corporate, because it gives you that now this is done at my end. I have taught this to 10 people. Now what next? So your plate is empty. Now you have to fill it with your the next knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So yes, I truly
absolutely.
uh, can correlate with this statement. So, yes, going next, from your vantage point, what emerging trends in data and AI are you most excited about personally, and why?
I think I will take it short. There are so many people talking about data AI and what's going on and what's the emerging trend. I don't think
Right.
that's really anything new. I think what I'm really excited is agentic AI about, and how can it shift? How can actually it become a true enabler for autonomous decision making capabilities wherever we can. I
Right.
know there are a lot of risk and worries. So I'm worried about ethical AI, but at the same time, I think if we do things ethically, the value agentic AI will bring into autonomous decision making is brilliant. Like, for example, a lot of government processes takes months to happen, right? Here, for
Right.
example, if
Yes.
a visa application is given, it takes roughly around 5 months to process. But think about
Oh,
putting this autonomous agentic AIs who can then be able to make that process much shorter. And these
shorter.
are very very important milestones for people's life. Having a visa done, being able to travel to your country. I remember when we were very new. I'm a citizen right now in Sweden, but when we were new here, we got stuck here for a whole year, me and my husband, because of the
Mm-hmm.
reason that we our visa was expired, and we the renew process took us almost, my husband's visa was particularly got stuck, and it
Mm-hmm.
was for 9 months they couldn't take a decision.
Oh,
So those kind of situations will not happen to people, and I so badly wanted to go to India that time to meet my parents, but we couldn't. So I think autonomous agentic AIs would solve a lot of these problems, but yes, ethical AI also need to be considered. However, what is another thing that I'm really interested in is
mm-hmm.
data is being considered as the fuel. Data is a decision support system. Data is a strategic asset. A lot of such jargons keeps going on the world. But
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned already with the example of this logistic company, people need to really understand what is the value they are getting out of their data.
Right.
Having
Right.
data or having information is not important. How do
Right.
you actually get value out of it is very important. I
Right.
see a lot of people who, for example, they absolutely understand complex engineering things, complex, how to build stuff, but they've never built anything.
Right.
But they understand it. So I see the difference of knowing versus actually believing in something and making something out of it is very important. So a lot of people nowadays, with information being so abundantly available all over the internet and on your fingertips, people know a lot of things, but are they
Right.
actually translating it to solve the problem? And that's where I think the data world will shift in future, where people will, just knowing will not help. People need to translate it to solve business problems in true reality, and that's also an area I'm very keen on right now.
Wonderful. So, just out of the box question, how do you balance your professional life and your personal life?
I think that's a very
Even you mentioned that your one of your friend asked, do you get 24 hours or more than that?
I do actually have the same question being asked to me many times. I think it's a choice. I just had a call with my mom every Saturday morning. I call her, and
Uh-huh.
she was like, "Oh, are you getting?" She was like, "I said I'm running my company. I have now to managing large communities, running events. I'm mentoring people. I'm cooking myself. I'm cleaning the house." And she was like, "Oh
Wow.
my God, you would not have any time for yourself." And I was like, "No, that's not true. Whatever I just listed is actually what I always wanted to do." So it's like my hobby being translated into reality. So when your hobby becomes your reality, whatever you loved arts, you loved painting your own home, you love cooking, you love doing all this community building, helping people. That you love all this, and you always wanted to do something as a child in these areas,
Right.
and you suddenly realize all of them have shaped to be something really meaningful. It takes, yes, I probably end up spending a lot more time in deep work than most of the people. I spend like 13 or 14 hours a day. But who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't? Talk about all the biggest leaders and successful entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs. They also work hard, right?
Right.
Everybody work hard. It's not because it is hard on them, it's actually fun. And it feels that sense of satisfaction, sense of achievement.
Satisfaction.
So you work a
Yes.
little more, but you don't feel sad that I'm working too much. You actually enjoy it. You feel, oh wow, I'm able to do so much stuff. Can I try that? Can I try this? So it just becomes a process. And then I also have recently learned when to say no. Another friend of mine was making fun of me, saying that, "Oh, you learn to say no nowadays." I was like, "Yes," because when you had 20, as a child, you had 20 things you wanted to do. They were dreams. First, only five of them were materialized for you. So you were saying yes to everything else that's given to you. But when you see those out of 20, 15 become reality to you. Now you don't want to spend trying out new opportunities for you. Now you're like, okay, I have 15 things what I ever wanted to do already being a reality to me. I want to focus my energy only on this because I'm happy with what I'm doing. So I have started saying no to things. Like if somebody asks me, Nilima, can you please do this thing on March? I was like, hey, my calendar is full. I'm already being doing quite a bit, so probably not March, maybe May. So that's exactly what I am nowadays doing. So learn to say no, but yeah, if you love something, spend your time. It feels like you're actually doing something for your hobby or fun. So it's always enjoy the thing that you do. Yeah.
Yes, right. When you're doing what you love, then time doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
don't realize that you have spent more than 24 hours or more than 30 hours or 36 hours, but you don't realize you don't feel uh,
Stressed.
tired, stressed, tired, right? You are
Yeah.
doing that continuously. So that gives
So
obviously that gives a sense of satisfaction, great pleasure working on that particular thing which you are loving. Great,
absolutely.
wonderful. So last but not the least, if you could just advise your younger self starting in digital transformation, what one personal lesson from your 25 years would you emphasize?
um, I remember this is very personal and very good that that's the last question, and it's I will leave it in the personal note. I before even giving myself any advice, my younger self, I'll actually thank my younger self first, because
Mm-hmm.
when I talked about China, the person, my mentor, who saw that entrepreneurial spark in me.
Sushil, right?
Sorry.
Sushil, right? Sushil, he
Yes,
was Sushil.
Sushil. Yes. And
Yeah.
Sushil one day, out of nowhere, so he had some health, he was feeling sick. And he was
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere, called me saying that, Nilima, can you please just go and join this meeting on behalf of me? I am not able to get from the bed. It is a very critical customer meeting, and you need to join us just 2 hours before the meeting. And I was like, what? No, I don't know about this customer. I don't know what you are discussing with them. How can I join that meeting? And he told me the most important thing I should have known long before. And he said, no,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to know anything. They will present what is their business, they will present us why they need our help. And you
Uh-huh.
need to do just only one thing what you do the best, ask the right questions.
Right.
And that very moment, I realized, okay, my biggest strength is asking the right questions. So
Question.
that's what I would be thankful to. I would actually be very thankful to my younger self that I have always asked the right whys. Everything that came to my way, I was like, why should I do it? Why? Why? The five whys you asked till you realize that, okay, yes, this is the thing I want to do. So that is
Right.
one thing I'll be personally thankful to, right? And I've been very courageous asking those whys. And then secondly, while you ask why, sometimes it might actually trying to shake somebody's fundamental belief, somebody's trust system. So when you ask that why, also ask that with empathy.
Right.
So that's my second reason why I'm thankful to myself. That means don't ask a why just because you want to prove a point. Ask a why to learn. Ask a why to understand the other person's point of view. Why exactly is customer suffering when there is an easy solution to solve this problem? Right? So
Right.
that is so ask it with empathy. And then the third one is never stop learning, right? And what I will so I actually have a framework for myself, and I'm quoting this framework for every young person who is aspiring to be a
Mm-hmm.
technologist, to be a digital leader. That is called cell, and I always talk about it. C is for courage, two
Uh-huh.
E is for empathy, and LL
Yeah.
is for lifetime learning. So
Oh,
have the
wonderful.
courage, have the empathy, but never
Empathy.
stop learning. never stop learning. And yeah, I would, my younger self, I'll advise keep asking questions, trust your growth, never let fear silent you, and be curious, which is very similar to actually Steve Jobs' statement, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Stay
So, absolutely
foolish.
similar to that. Yes.
Yes, right. Wonderful, wonderful. So Nilima, it was really nice talking with you. Great information, great experience you have shared with us. And yes, uh, once again, a great thank you for your wonderful time, taking time to interview. And yes, would love to work with you in future as well. So that's it from my end.
Thank you.
Anything which I
Thanks for your
missed?
time.
Anything I've missed, which you want to add at the end of this video? Uh,
No, I think it was a brilliant discussion. It helps me to reflect on my journey, and every time I reflect, I myself learn. Uh, and I myself feel fulfilled in certain way that hey, journey has been tough, but it also is such a brilliant journey. And I really
right,
wish people like me who are having the same aspirations to be an entrepreneur, to be an architect, to be a data or AI person, I would say that my prayers are with them that they also have this much of fun and journey, and they actually should have all the adventures that I have been through, because those are the best part of life.
right. Yes, wonderful. So thank you, Nilima.